The Seattle Mariners are betting on themselves and protecting themselves against the possibility that Jarred Kelenic may not perform. The Mariners are doing the right thing. They're giving themselves a safety net if Kelenic does struggle. And of course, with the injury to Taylor Trammell, there is a good chance that the Mariners may need some extra depth in the outfield. That's why they've added players like Cole Calhoun, Leonys Martin, etc. Players that are left-handed bats that can play left field if need be. Of course, these guys are not going to win you a Silver Slugger. They're not going to go out there and make a huge difference to your lineup, but they're still steady players that you can rely on. Shannon Dre reported on the 23rd that Cole Calhoun was in the clubhouse, which kind of garnered a big reaction from Mariners Twitter because, as a lot of us know, Cole Calhoun's not our favorite. But Calhoun does provide a pretty steady force for the Mariners in the minor leagues in case someone like Jarred Kelenic or even Cade Marlowe does not perform and Taylor Trammell is still hurt. While in 2022, his numbers against righties were nothing to really look at. He hit 193 with 9 home runs with 110 strikeouts in 311 at-bats. His career versus righties is something the Mariners are a lot more interested in. He's a career 247 hitter versus righties with 131 home runs against them. And if you look at 2021 for Calhoun, in 125 at-bats, he hit 272 with 5 home runs, 15 runs, 13 RBI, with 31 strikeouts against right-handed pitching. So with the Mariners relying on AJ Pollock to be the right-handed version of the platoon in left field, adding a player like Cole Calhoun just as depth, he's not going to be starting for you ideally, but just as depth is a great idea. The Mariners also brought back old friend Leonys Martin. Now in his career versus right-handed pitching, he's a 251 hitter with 44 home runs, 254 runs, 160 RBI versus right-handed pitching compared to 227 versus lefties. So again, pairing that with someone like AJ Pollock in left field, if you have to, isn't the end of the world. Now with that being said, Martin has not played in the majors in years now, so who knows what he can really give you. You would assume he still has decent defense and a great throwing arm, but at the plate you never know with Leonys Martin exactly what he has to offer. We all know why Jarred Kelenic is not a sure, so adding those two players along with Cade Marlowe in left field is a really good formula for success to give yourself the best chance to win. For Marlowe last year in 120 games at AA, he had a 25.7% strikeout rate, a 369 BABIP, but he hit 291, 380, 483 with a 122 WRC+. Throughout his entire career in the minor leagues, Marlowe has struck out a lot. But he did hit a total of 23 home runs last year, even if in AAA he was slashing a 38.3% strikeout percentage. Only in 13 games, however, 60 plate appearances, so it's not that big of a deal. But still, in 518 plate appearances at AA, he had a 25.7% strikeout rate, which is pretty dang high. But again, the Mariners are going quantity over quality here. The Mariners are going with a bunch of players for cheap. All of these players cost a lot less than one player would have if you would have signed them during the offseason. So with that being said, they're giving themselves the best chance in left field, a chance to hopefully see some production out of that position, because obviously you haven't with Jesse Winker last year. AJ Pollock is a pretty safe bet to perform as he has in the past against left-handed pitching. He's always been really good versus lefties, so we can assume and hope that AJ Pollock is that same guy. But the hard part will be versus right-handed pitching, and the Mariners are giving themselves a bunch of different players that can get that done. Taylor Trammell going out was a huge blow to the Mariners' depth, but still, by adding Cole Calhoun, by adding Leonys Martin, having Jarred Kelenic as the first option and Cade Marlowe as the next, I think that you have a good chance to see some production out of left field, more so than we've seen in the past. Could this end up just being a revolving door of players? Yeah, of course, it always could, but also Sam Haggerty can play left field, Dylan Moore can go out there and play left field if need be. The Mariners have options. Now, Dylan Moore and Sam Haggerty playing in left field, they're kind of redundant with AJ Pollock already out there because all three players hit lefties really well and not so great versus righties, but maybe Pollock goes over to right field for a game to let Teo DH, and then they can be the right-handed version of the platoon with Jarred Kelenic over there for a bit. With spring training games underway, it'll be interesting to see how the Mariners deployed their outfield. And in terms of their projected roster, we have a video on the screen now that we talk about their projected roster and who could be on the team. We want you guys to check that one out. Appreciate you guys watching this one, and go Mariners.